Hello, and welcome back to the 3P Playbook, a show dedicated to youth sports and the development of youth sports. What can we do to make sure that our kids are having the times of their lives and learning valuable life lessons? What we can do as coaches, as mentors, as instructors to make sure that the kids are learning and having fun, most importantly. I'm your host, Pat Wilkinson, and we're here back at the Knot at 507 37th Avenue South. If you're looking for a great place to come take your family, kick back, have a drink, and talk sports, this is the place you want to come to. Come see my boy, Roger, down here at the Knot. I promise you he'll show you a great time. For today's episode, we've got another leader in the youth sports world. We have the director of sports here in North Myrtle Beach, Miss Amanda Player Walford. Amanda, thank you very much for being out here on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So I know who you are. I've coached underneath your organization, and guys, if you want to talk about a well-oiled machine, North Myrtle Beach, the youth sports, the rec department here is the prime example, I can assure you. So before we get into everything that we do here, go ahead and give me a little introduction about yourself. Let our viewers know what you're all about.
Sure. So I am the athletic and sports tourism manager for City of North Myrtle Beach. Been here a little over 5.5 years. So we oversee youth sports, adult sports, sports tourism, and all the sports that we have to offer. Been around North Myrtle for prior to that as well. So prior to working for City of North Myrtle Beach, I was on the tournament side. So I hosted softball tournaments with City of North Myrtle Beach for several years, even before our sports complex was built. So I was on that side of it. And then prior to that, I coached college softball, worked in other rec departments, was a sports director for the YMCA. Just kind of been around sports all my life and around youth sports. So brought that into North Myrtle Beach. And we offer spring sports, fall sports, winter sports, summer camps, and our adult sports. We offer co-ed softball that we do. And then our sports tourism is when our tournament owners and event owners come in and utilize our facility. So we organize that and put it all together. So that's just kind of a brief history.
Sweet, yeah. So well versed in the sports world, and you're also a teacher. You also teach at Coastal Carolina University, correct?
I do.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've been there since 2016 in the recreation and sport management field. So started off as an adjunct, then became a full-time lecturer, back down to an adjunct now, but kind of a super adjunct. I teach 5 classes, but it's my field. It's the same degree that I got, recreation and sport management. Kind of cool to be working with professors that taught me while I was there, but it's really just me teaching what I do.
Right.
Which is fantastic. One of the classes that I teach is called Recreational Sport Programming. And every day that I walk into class, pretty much say, let's talk about it. And I tell them something that happened at sports the night before and get, let them work their way through it, a little real life experience type of thing. Or I bring up something relevant to what's going on. So on Monday, we talked about the Super Bowl, different things like that. But it helps me to, give off some knowledge that I've gained. It gives me kind of test myself a little bit in my experience so that I can learn. And then it's a huge resource. So several of my current staff members and former staff members are all CCU RSM students or alum. And even the ones I have on staff now. So it's a great resource for our department. It's a feeder program for our department. And being able to be in the classroom and be around those students and help with that allows me to build it up for our Parks and Rec. If you look throughout Parks and Rec, we've got several CCU alums in there. So I enjoy it. And being able to give back to my alma mater is awesome because I will bleed teal forever.
Nice.
But it's a great thing to do, to be able to kind of pass the knowledge off. I mean, I've got a great staff that I do that with, and I'm constantly learning as well. So I love it.
Sweet. Yeah. So the 3 P's on this show itself, the playbook. All right, it's geared around, the first P would be play, right? So what's out there for kids to get involved in. The second would be progression. So techniques or environments in which kids can progress in that sport that they wish to partake in. And then finally, prosperity. And what that means essentially is, are kids going to go to the next level to play that sport, or what valuable lessons are they going to learn in the sport that they're playing? I'm a firm believer that there's all kinds of lessons that you can learn when it comes to sports, life lessons that they can take throughout their lives. So that being said, let's start with the P. Locally, what do we have available? What sports for North Myrtle Beach and the rec?
Sure. So actually, right now we are currently in spring registration for our spring sports. So we have baseball, softball, t-ball, soccer, and lacrosse. So we offer those in the spring. In the fall, we have baseball, softball, soccer, volleyball, lacrosse, flag football.
Mhm.
And then in the winter, we do basketball. So that's kind of the year round thing. Over the summer, we'll have summer sports camps, and we actually partner with North Myrtle Beach High School to be able to offer those. So we kind of sit back and do the registration portion of that, get it all organized. But the coaches from the high school run those camps, which is really awesome because they are connecting with our youth. Our youth can see, their potential future coach if they're pursuing sport, and just kind of learning fundamentals and meeting other kids that they're going to play with in our area. So we've had a great working relationship with the high school.
Yeah.
So we offer those sports, and that's kind of year round. And On the adult side, we have adult softball, and then sports tourism. All kind of events come in that play, but those are our kind of our key sports. We try, to see what's out there and see what we might offer. Now, lacrosse is new for us. We've only been doing that for about 3 years now, and it's grown very rapidly.
Yeah.
We're able to go and play some other rec departments as well, which is nice to have that competition while our program grows, and especially because the high school program is growing with lacrosse. So we try and keep up with that, but it gives them many opportunities to choose from. You know, especially if you're what we all think of traditional pastimes of baseball. If that's not their sport, they can try something else. They can try
Yeah.
soccer, and soccer is very popular too.
Right. And then we've got the sports complex here in North Myrtle Beach, a massive complex where we got all these soccer fields, we got baseball, softball fields. And I know whenever we're having these baseball and softball tournaments, under that place is absolutely packed. Now, there's going to be some additions to that complex, right? Tell me a little bit about that. What we got?
Yeah, we're super excited. So we have purchased land on the other side of our complex. It's about 90 to 96 acres there, and we are expanding our park. So we are doubling our baseball softball size. So currently we have 6 fields. We're going to add 6 more. And then on our soccer lacrosse side, or our rectangular fields, we are adding in 5 more. So we have 8 right now. So we'll have a total of around 13 fields available. Hopefully we're able to put some other attractions or entertainment value in the middle of that, with kind of giving a whole family experience. But we're in need of the fields desperately, so I'm excited to get that ball rolling. It's going to be huge for sports for us in our area, and it should be happening very soon.
Yeah, right. And so we also bring in AAU. So like basketball, I know that especially the J. Bryan Floyd Center, because I try to swing in while I'm at work and come see a couple games and everything else. But those seem like pretty big events based on the parking and everything else that we see out there. How many teams do you guys normally bring in regards to like AAU type
Yeah,
sports?
so we host a few different organizations that'll, fortunately, but unfortunately, we only have 2 gymnasiums. So in doing so, we normally are not a host site. We're usually a satellite site for a lot of the tournaments. We do
Okay.
have a few that they'll do, and they can run about 30 to 35 max in 2 gyms when they run it like that. But our summer tournaments where they bring in basketball teams, those tournaments can have upwards of over 100 teams easily, because they're using us as well as the Myrtle Beach Sports Center. They're using, North Strand Rec Center. They're using high schools and all of that. So we can bring in a bunch of teams, and they rotate them, through the gym. So it depends on the tournament and the time of year. We have a really cool event that's different. It's a USA Prep event, so a prep high school event that comes up in March.
Mhm.
And that one will have a good amount of teams, and they come from all over.
Right.
And they're staying here in North Myrtle. They're enjoying their time, but it can vary on the amount of teams. We need more gyms, so hopefully
Right.
as soon as we get the park built, we can expand our gymnasiums and be able to be a more of a host site for
Sure.
basketball tournaments versus the satellite sites.
Gotcha. And what is participation like? So I know for I coached this past season in basketball through you guys, girls basketball, and I was absolutely amazed about the amount of girl participation in basketball. Uh, I know you guys were jam packed. Am I right as far as participation is
Absolutely.
concerned? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so we had approximately how many teams with anywhere from 9 to 10 girls on it? I think it was
Seven.
7 teams. Yeah. So
Actually.
what 70 girls, and then the coaching and everything else. I won't say specifically which other rec departments we participated in, but that wasn't the case. It seemed like it was pulling teeth to get people to, especially girls, to come play basketball. So I know that's definitely impressive. Is it the same way with all the other sports? I mean, how many you're talking about, like, kids that you're bringing in? I mean, are you guys having to have like a cutoff number for all of our sports, or?
We are. Yeah, that number for girls basketball was phenomenal. We did not expect that at
Right.
all. Traditionally, we've had around four teams
Hmm.
in girls basketball since I've been here, and that was one of my goals when I came in, was to really push sports for girls.
Yeah,
Obviously,
right.
growing up and playing and seeing that. And starting new sports and lacrosse and in our traditional sports still do well, but it was a big factor for me because not only grown up, but I have two girls
Hmm.
that I want to see and grow up in sport, at least try it. May not be their thing, but at
Sure.
least try it, and growing that has been crucial. So yeah, our numbers have grown drastically across the board. We're at
Yeah.
record numbers every season in all of our sports right now, but our girls sports as well. Our volleyball program has just taken off.
Oh, so you guys saw volleyball as well?
Yeah, so volleyball in the fall has taken off. We did not anticipate it this last fall, but we were over 100 and something girls in our volleyball program, and a testament to a few different things. We definitely get our high school involved with that, and the
Right.
girls love seeing the players come out and the coaches come out. The boys volleyball team came out this year and helped with that. The successes they've had in the school, competing for state, that helps. And again, we're a feeder program and they recognize that. So just really pushing that has grown. And right now, watching our spring registration numbers,
Hmm.
we've only been in registration for a week and a half, and it's going so fast.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We're at almost 50% of what we had last year, and we usually run registration for 4 weeks. And normally we try and let it stay open those 4 weeks, but we are going to have to put some capacity on some things, especially like T-ball.
Yeah.
We run 18 teams for T-ball.
Oh, wow.
We can't go any higher than that. We don't have any more
Yeah.
fields, so we will have to cap things. So we push it. Get registered now, register early. Don't wait. But all of our leagues are growing like that, and it's just a testament to how rapidly our area is growing. We try and run organized leagues and try and give everybody a great experience. So hopefully that accounts for some of that.
Right. Yeah.
You don't try to talk about it that way, but
Yeah.
you try to offer them a good experience so they'll come back and play. And we're seeing a lot of kids that just grow up through the league and are having a great experience preparing for whatever it is. Maybe this is their last step in sport, or maybe they're getting ready, but
Yeah.
um, the numbers are insane. And the coaching has been great. For basketball, like we were talking about, or
Hmm.
you were talking about. We're always having to look for coaches, but we were very blessed during basketball season that we were pretty set. We didn't have to beg and plead,
Right.
people to come volunteer. And seeing the numbers roll in for spring, we've got several people signed up to coach already,
Nice.
which is great. Especially with the numbers growing. So we want to see that happen. And it's good because, that's a better experience, and that's more kids that we can take when we have the adults that say, I want to help out, I want to volunteer.
Sure. Yeah. So the one thing that really stands out is the variety of sports that kids can play. So we're talking, what, 25, I think that's being generous, but 25 years ago when I was playing rec sports and coming up in the big town of Aner, South Carolina, we pretty much had the main traditional sports. Yeah, I didn't know anything about lacrosse or um, and even soccer was semi-foreign, during that time period, man. It was nothing but football, baseball, basketball.
Yeah.
And now you just to see the progression and what's available out there. I mean, like I said, people can play volleyball now,
Mhm.
and I had no clue about that. And I tried to do my research before you had you on here. So, but
Sorry.
um, so that being said, now let's put your director hat on. So what does that entail with you as far as organization? How much work? That's got to take a lot of work to make sure that runs as smoothly as it does.
It is. I have two very awesome assistant athletic directors, Paige Hess and Ryan Wilson, and together as a team, we work really well together.
Mm,
They definitely have brought so much to our department, each of them in their own different ways. But it's everything from the minute we're getting our registration ready, which we're now completely online to be able to do registration, which is great. You can do it from your phone. Having to set all that up to once registration is done, immediately going into evaluations and getting that organized and immediately going into practices. We're always working 2 steps ahead. And the good thing about youth sports is, every season kind of runs the same as what you need to do. So we have a calendar, we're planning, we're looking at dates way in advance of what we have. And sometimes big registration numbers like 7 to 9 girls basketball will throw you off, but
Sure.
we kind of know what we need to do, and we check and balance each other. Each season I kind of task them with the sports that they're responsible for. So here in the spring, Ryan will do baseball and soccer, and Paige will do softball, t-ball, and lacrosse, and it kind of balances out. But that way the parents know who they're contacting, the coaches know who they're contacting, they knew who they need to reach out to, and there's no crossing, and we send out a ton of emails as it is, but that way you're not getting the double of the emails. And then we get the practice schedules, we put our game schedule on the line as much as in advance as possible, anywhere from, and then scheduling pictures, scheduling referees or umpires or whatever it may be. It's just kind of making sure that you have a way to check it off and get ahead of it.
Yeah.
We don't work from behind. We work 2 steps ahead at least. And, we've, January gave us a good time of when we were just in basketball games to get ready for this February and spring registration. And that way, once practices start and the game schedule is posted, then you're kind of cruising until you get ready for the next one,
Sure.
and, it's not like it's a summer off for us because we're gearing up for summer camps. And then we have our other division, our sports tourism division, that we all three work.
Sure.
So it just kind of flips hats there. But we have to make sure that we stay on top of it and make sure that we're checking all the boxes. We send our parent letters out so they know the expectations. We send out our codes of conduct. We send out, what's required as far as equipment, what they need to get, the uniforms that they're getting, just being as transparent as possible, communicating as much as possible. And like I said, I know people might get annoyed with the emails, or sometimes they opt out, but I would suggest that they don't, because a lot of good information comes from those emails. Even if we, especially in the spring where we're outdoors, we have weather issues.
Sure.
So getting that out there as soon as possible. Little things like that parents really appreciate, so they can plan. Everybody's got busy schedules, especially if you have kids. Life is crazy all the time. So the earlier that you can know and the more that you can know, it is crucial.
Yeah, right.
So that's important for us.
Well, and it's important for the coaches too. And so I can speak on behalf of when I coached girls basketball this previous season. You guys had the rosters out with contact information for the parents. You had the rules, you had the expectations, and everything else, the schedules. Everything was right there, nice and neat for you, right from the get-go. So that you can, and you guys scheduled the practices for us. You were able to go out and find, because you said, yeah, we got the J. Bryant Floyd Center, but there's so many basketball courts, so you have to reach out to the middle school and to the aquatic fitness center and everything else. And you guys were able to get us in and pencil us in as far as getting those practices in and stuff. And that made my life 10 times easier as far as all that's concerned, the organization aspect of it.
Right.
So now moving on to the actual progression, because this is going to be, I think we're going to take a little bit of time on this. And we'll start off when I was coaching. One of the things that stood out to me, the structure with girls basketball and basketball across the board, it was all the different age groups and everything, was you guys set the requirements for playing time for each kid. And so for girls basketball, it was that every girl on the team had to play every quarter, and then every girl had to start each quarter, right? So and then at the 3-minute and 45-second mark, that's when the lines would rotate. So it made sure that every kid was able to get inside, or get in the game and go and play. And as a coach, that made my life a lot easier, because not only, it's hard to keep track of time sometimes when you're coaching and you're in the middle of a game,
Absolutely.
but also because you guys would stop the game. It would stop and you say, all right, it's time to switch out. But also, for no kid wants to play rec sports just to sit the bench, right, and not get the playing time.
Right.
And I think sometimes people forget about that this is recreation league.
Mhm.
There's not scouts watching this game, right?
Yep.
If they win their division, they're not winning a bunch of money, or and this and that, and so with that being said, the kids are able to get out and go play. No kid can ever progress in a sport if they're not getting out on the court. I mean, there's 10-year-olds that are just starting a sport for the first time
Right.
and stuff like that. And if what are they going to gain if they're riding the pine the whole time? I just don't understand it. But what you guys did was make sure that the kids get in and they get to play. So that's one thing that I definitely appreciated, and that's one thing that makes North Myrtle Beach stand out because I haven't seen that necessarily anywhere else. Now, granted, you also gave coaches the liberty to, if you had a disciplinary problem with one of the things, yeah, you can pull them off the court, or if a kid was injured or something like that. So, what made you think of that? The actual organization.
Yeah, so we kind of do that through all of our sports. Basketball, we're able to put a time on it on when we can switch, but all of our sports require that playing time,
Mhm.
in just different ways. So, growing up for me, it was kind of that way too, playing sport. Our basketball was a little different last year. We did switch it this year with the amount of time, so we actually added time that kids could be able to play this year
Mm.
and kind of switch the substitution. But something that I have to preach all the time, and it's very hard for me. I'm a competitive person. I have played ball all my life.
Mhm.
I know everybody's looking to who wins. I know that even if we didn't keep score, someone's keeping score, and someone's going to bring that to attention. You won or whatnot. So I'm not. No one's naive to that part of it,
Right.
but in order for kids to get that experience, we have to preach it all the time to some of our coaches that this is recreation ball.
Right.
Do kids still have rules and discipline and all that? Yes, they do, but we are here for the experience. It only takes one thing, and this is a lot of what I teach. It only takes one thing for a child to experience for them to never want to play that sport again in their life,
Mhm.
not just that season.
Right.
And from ages 6 to 12, it is crucial and critical because that is that time where they're either going to fall in love with it or they're not. And by 14, a lot of kids have quit sport because of experiences.
Mhm.
And so that's what recreation is there for, to fill that need for participation. And it may not be that they're going on to play at the next level, but it's something where if they're getting that great experience, then they're going to understand the love for the sport, or the love of commitment, or understanding that part of life lessons, instead of, I didn't make it to practice, so I'm sitting the bench.
Right. Yeah.
And that's tough for coaches who come from the competitive side to turn
Mhm.
that off a little bit and realize that it's rec ball. We try and tell our parents it's important to get your kids to practice because that's part of the experience. But if that kid missed 2 practices and then shows up for the game, they get the same amount of playing time.
Right.
I get the other side of it, and I feel it. I do.
Mhm.
But I can guarantee you it probably was not a 6 to 12-year-old's responsibility to get their own self to practice.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Something else happened there, and so we're not going to punish that child for
Yeah.
that because we want them to get the playing time. So volleyball has the same thing. They rotate every point, so everybody's rotating in the volleyball rotation. Baseball and softball, there's so many outs they have to play, so many at bats they get. Soccer, they play half the game.
Mhm.
It's just a little more on the coaches to keep up with the playing time there, just because we're not able to be in the middle of the soccer game like we are a basketball game. Flag football, same thing. So we have playing time for rules for all of our sports to make sure the kids are getting adequate exposure.
Absolutely.
Not just for the actual sport, but adequate exposure to sportsmanship, teamwork, kindness.
Yeah. Right.
Adversity, how to handle something on the field, how to handle something on the court. Those are the lessons that they're trying to learn. So if they're not getting that playing time, they're not going to get an experience. So
Right.
it's important for us to have those rules in place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And really, if what would be the perfect atmosphere for a kid to learn a sport? So define, like I said, and me, Ken, we talked about this on the last show when we were talking about golf. Kids aren't going to learn unless they're having fun. So define let's go into the do's and don'ts as far as a coach. What can a coach do to make sure that kids are going to be learning whatever sport that they're going to be doing?
Right. Having fun is something that I preach and I've preached forever. and I tell my students about it, even at the professional level. I feel like if you're not having fun, I don't understand why you're doing it.
Right.
To put that much time and commitment in it at the pro level all the way down to the rec level. It's still a commitment. I mean, you're there twice a week. You know, your parents are there twice a week or whatever it is. It's a huge commitment. And so if you're not having fun, I don't understand why you're doing it. So it is our job as adults to create that fun environment for them. And as coaches, we have to recognize that. We have to read the situation, read the room, and read our players. We have to take time to learn our players. It's so important because um, I've always said when I was a coach and even when I'm teaching is that I treated all my players fairly and equally, but not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning I can't talk to this player the same way that I can talk to this player, and this one may require more of my time, and this one may not require as much because they're going to get it faster, or this one may require more hands-on work where I can just show this one and they're going to get it. And so everybody's different. So even at the rec level where you have very limited time, have seen it where some of our coaches don't even learn their players' names
Oh, wow.
until the very end of the season. Or you know, you're checking off the basketball list and they're like, oh, wait a minute, which one is that kid?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to recognize that you don't even know their name.
Right.
So taking the time to care, taking the time to create a fun environment. It's not always about, all right, we're at practice, let's go out there and scrimmage. It's not always about, you know, I'm gonna roll the balls out, here you go. I know it's a volunteer position, but you know, you're signing up for this, so we're asking you, let's create this fun environment from, let's create a learning environment for them. Let's create an experience where they're gonna want to come back. And you know, we can't harp on winning. We can't stress, you know, or flip out when we make the mistakes. You know, kids are kids. These
Yeah, right.
majority of it 6 to 12 year olds. They're going to make those mistakes, and so it's important for the positive, for the praise. If we're going to correct something or critique something, let's back it up with a compliment. Let's start with a compliment and recognize something that they're doing right. Because kids are going to hear that first.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, those first couple words out of your mouth is what they really hear first.
Yeah,
What you say afterwards will depend on how they felt about those words. So if
sure.
they hear something positive, they're going to latch on and hear it. If they hear don't or no or something negative, they're probably going to zone out.
Right.
And that's one of the things that when I was coaching college softball that we even did with our girls, my head coach preached it. She said, we're not going to start a statement with the word don't, because they're always going to zone out and not hear that and hear the very next word.
Yeah.
So we didn't use that word. We tried not to use that word. Sometimes it's hard.
Oh, that's a good
But
point.
yeah, so you know, it's important for these coaches to understand the influence they truly have on the kids, even
Right.
for that little bit of time. Um, you know, you coach my girls and
Mm-hmm.
they talk about their season still and they love it.
That's awesome.
Never knew that my girls had a love for basketball the way that they do now,
Yeah.
especially Avery, but that's because the environment that you created. I can guarantee that if they went and played for some of our other coaches, that may not have been the same for them.
Yeah.
But they enjoy things, they have fun while they're doing it, and that's important for kids to succeed and kids to excel. You know, we're not trying to create the next D1 athlete here on our level.
Right.
Like you said, there's no scouts out there. And, you know, we want them to fall in love with something. It doesn't mean that that's going to be their sport. They may not, but we still want them to have a good experience while they're there.
Yeah. And that was the thing, like last show, we're talking about golf, and one thing that I've always believed in is you can never ever force a kid to love a sport, but you sure can make them hate a sport, and based on the environment that you're creating. Uh, Now going back to this basketball season, I had the most fun I've ever had, with youth sports. I got to coach my daughter. I got to, teach your kids and everything else, and one of the first things I did as a coach was after being provided all the rules and everything else. I didn't know you guys were going to send that out to all the parents. So I went ahead and sent the rules out to the parents so everybody's on the same page. But I also set my expectations for the season, meaning I told them exactly what I planned on doing, how we were going to run practices and things like that. That way, everybody knew what what I planned on doing, and trying to be as transparent as possible. And the first thing I told everybody was, we don't have starters on this team. I had set the girls up in different positions so that they can all work well together and make us the most efficient that we can possibly be. But with our practices, now great, I had two awesome assistant coaches
Mhm.
that were on board and everything
For
else.
sure.
Carrie and Tracy, they were both great. But before every practice, now I because if I don't write it down, I'll get sidetracked like crazy.
Mhm.
And so I had everything somewhat organized as far as what I planned on doing for practice. So I would start off on the top. For today's practice, these are the three objectives. And the first objective was always have fun, right? I'll make sure that everything stays fun. And then we would go over, okay, let's work on dribbling and we're going to, perfect passing. But I would break it. First off, I had to break the girls up into groups
Mhm.
because if we're talking that age group,
Yeah.
if I tried to talk, I learned the hard way. If I line up all nine girls and I try to go over something, I've got three of them, playing patty cake. I got the other three. I may have one listening. So breaking them up into small groups, and then for each specific skill that we wanted to teach, there was a game attached to it. So they were playing a game, and like one of them would be, and actually, and we'll get into Nays here in a second, but one of them I learned through that website was the if you were to actually perfect like dribbling and stopping, right? How do you work on that? Well, you take a ball, you start at the baseline, and at the half court mark, you have 4 or 5 cones set up there. And the girls, what they have to do is they have to dribble and get the cone and come back. Well, just to make it a little interesting, you would put like we called it the monster, right? And it'd be one of the coaches with their back turned to them. And it was kind of like red light, green light. So when the monster's back was turned to them, they would start dribbling and they would go up. And then when the monster turned around, they had to stop. They had to keep dribbling, but they had to stop. And then they would reach down, grab their cone, and once they got their cone, they didn't have to stop anymore. They had to sprint back
Yep.
before the monster got them. But you figured you're learning how to control the ball, you're learning how to dribble and everything else, all the while playing a game. And that was just one of many that we did. But I had to make sure that every practice had all of those games for the
Absolutely.
kids to play, just to keep them interested. If I said, all right, we're going to work our 5 out, offensive drill today, or offense, they're going to be like, dude, which I learned the hard way because we did have to have like an offensive day,
Yeah.
where we were learning how to do stuff. But I was just like, all right, eyeballs, kids, eyeballs, eyeballs,
Mhm.
eyeballs, but it had to be real quick, short burst, and just to let them run around. And that what stood out the most to me, the most rewarding thing to that whole season as a coach was watching kids, including my own, go from maybe being a little bit timid to grab the ball and take the initiative to push down the court
Yeah.
or to shoot the ball and stuff
Mhm.
like that and second guessing themselves to the girls having taken that initiative. I'll mention Avery. I call her the rebound queen because I mean, we went from right around the mid season. It's just like a switch flipped,
It
and
did.
she was sitting there snagging balls, and I mean, shooting, you name it. She ended up dropping, I believe, it was 6 points in one game.
Yeah.
I mean, she just turned into an animal there, and it was great.
It was huge for her confidence. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
and I could speak on Ava. Ava
Mhm.
started from being, a little timid to wanting to dribble the ball down. She was always looking for one of the stronger dribblers to
Yeah.
pass to, but before you know it, she's up there, taking the ball down the court. And of course, she was always the rule follower, so she never wanted to foul. And so with that came the hesitation to be physical down in the paint. And sure enough, her last game, she almost fouls out. So
No,
that was
that's
great.
awesome though.
But um, well, we started the very first practice. We talked about uh, what makes a good teammate,
Mhm.
and from there, that and the girls would raise their hands, and we would go over, being able to pass the ball, being supportive to your other teammates, trying your best in everything that you do. And we started and ended the season with that philosophy. Like the big thing we wanted to do was weren't what I told the parents is by the end of this season, I want your kids to be excited to play basketball in the next season. And I think as a whole, just watching how, and I had awesome parents too.
Yeah.
All the parents are great. None of them put me in a weird position, like getting a little too crazy in the stands or nothing. But I think I just had the trifecta. I had, you know, good coaching, I had great kids, and I had great parents, and that just made for the best environment for us to thrive in. And the girls ended up winning their little division there. But and we had a few bumps in the road, which another critical like lesson that kids need to learn. And we talked about it on the last show as well. Ken said it the best. Sometimes you got to get punched in the face. You got
Yeah.
to learn how to lose,
Yeah.
and you got to learn how to build back and come
Mhm.
through it. So we were able to go through the good times and the couple rough times that we had, but we were able to rally around and do some really great things, including, coming off of a loss and then beating the top team the very next go around, and the girls were able to shake that off and perform. So, but but yeah, you guys made it such a great environment for us. Not only the coaches, but for the kids, the referees that you guys had. And that's no secret. Finding officials in different leagues can be definitely challenging in today's world. And us as parents are to blame for that 100%. Us either living our lives through our kids or acting like we're playing for the national championship, or we're playing for a bunch of money. So. But tell me about you set us up for success when you give the coaches, you send out NACE training
Hmm.
for us
Yeah.
before. Now, in order to become a coach, you have to go through the background check,
Hmm.
and you got to sign the what is it called? It was
The coach's code of
the
conduct.
coach's code of conduct, and then you had to take this mandatory training. So tell
Mhm.
me a little bit about NACE.
Yeah, so NAYS is the National Alliance for Youth Sports. It's a national organization that helps with, and it's not just coaching. They have parent training. They have all kind of training, but they have a coaches training that we ask all of our coaches to take, and you kind of have two segments of it.
Mhm.
And we pay for this for all of our coaches. It's very important for, especially coaches that may not have coached before ever,
Mhm.
or maybe they're coaching a sport they're not familiar with. It helps out with both of those. So you go through kind of a general training of coaching youth sports, how to organize practice and key points for coaching youth, and then you go through a sport specific training. So you click on what sports it is that you're coaching, and then you're able to get a little more specific there with drills or whatnot. And it's important for us because um, again, the impression that adults are making on children ages 6 to 12 or even 6 to 14 is so critical.
Mhm.
And for them to understand how important their role is in just even an organized practice. I can't tell you how many times parents are looking for that. They're looking to see, does this coach care enough to organize a practice? Does this coach care to be out there with my child? People, it is rec sport, but well, a lot of parents are looking for a very um kind of influential experience for them to where they're getting the basis of their knowledge and they can go to the next level. So we've gotten a phone call or two of saying, hey, this coach doesn't have it together. They just go out there and, toss some balls, or they just go out there and let them scrimmage and they're not organized and they're not running practice, or the kids are just messing around and there's no instruction or there's no discipline.
Yeah.
And it's hard for us because we need so many coaches.
Right.
This spring we'll need upwards of 75 at least. And so it's hard to say, well, just anybody and everybody can do it, because that's not the case. I mean, we need the volunteers, don't get me wrong, but I know how important that volunteer is, and the um impression they're making on our kids. So when that parent sees that you don't care or you don't have a plan,
Mhm.
we're going to hear about it. So that NAES training gives you that.
Right.
It gives you the resources that you need, to even for just a basis to go and find more.
Mhm.
We have practice plans that we give out. I remember a couple years ago, it was T-ball season, and I noticed some T-ball where they put, one kid batting, and these are 4 to 6 year olds, one kid batting, one on deck, and everybody else in the field, and
Mhm.
just letting them hit off the tee. Well, that doesn't work in T-ball.
Right. Yeah.
You've got three over here playing in the dirt, three over here throwing sand at each other. That one's out there picking in the grass. So I said, you know what? I'm going to create some T-ball practice plans. So we have those available as resources for our coaches. We don't make them use any of them, but if they ask us, absolutely.
Yeah.
And YouTube is a great resource.
Oh yeah.
People don't understand. They literally, at certain levels, you can coach a sport you've never played before.
Sure.
Because of what's out there. And so we have all that available. So we feel like we're giving our coaches the best chance for success with our kids.
Yeah.
And NAES is part of that. Our practice plans are part of that. We preach, like you were saying, incorporating games and making it fun. It teaches you that as well, because kids can't just do drill after drill after drill after drill.
Mhm.
I don't care what level you're at. You can be 4 to 6 year olds, or you can be at college playing games. People are competitive and they have
Oh, you better
fun,
believe it. Yeah.
and I think even at the older level, the high school and college level, sometimes it's even more fun than it is with the little kids. But
Sure.
playing little games like red light, green light, or dribble tag, or sharks and minnows, or
Hmm.
slide tag. Any of those types of things just gets them still working on their skills, but engages them.
Right.
I teach my kids at Coastal when we're talking about instructing. Read your room, read your players, read your situation. If they're zoning out, you got to switch real quick.
Oh yeah.
I did a long story, but I did a soccer tots program for us a couple years ago for 3-year-olds with
Uh-huh.
soccer. And the parents are involved and with them, and I had them for about 30 minutes. In that 30 minutes, we would run about 8 different types of drills or games or whatever it was, because a 3-year-old's mind can't really focus on one thing for very
Sure.
long. So I had several different options. And our coaches need to have that too. If something's not working, or your kids aren't buying into it, or they're not having fun and they zoned out, you got to have something in your back pocket, and Nays can do that also.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was awesome. And then only that, but you guys, it's nothing out of our pocket as coaches.
Absolutely.
You guys provided. Now,
Absolutely.
granted, they also have different things that you can personally buy and
Hmm.
all that to
Hmm.
progress even further. But, and then your officials, I have to compliment your officials that you guys had for at least in basketball. And they seemed like they were very uh, in tune with not only the age group. So,
Hmm.
they were a little bit lenient towards the beginning of the season, towards, some travels and some
Right.
double dribbles and stuff like that. But you also saw the progression of them starting to call it and everything else. So you had, and that takes a little bit of investment from, the officials. And that's,
Right.
for somebody to care that much, or at least to pay that much attention, that's not some dude just trying to make, a couple extra
Not at
bucks,
all. Mhm.
and to speak on one incident specifically, where, uh, during our season, we had two girls start to get a little rough on the court and got,
Right.
which, look, it is what it is. That tells that's going to happen,
Yep.
and especially if you got some of your players that are their hearts in it. If anything, that's kind of tells them, hey, these kids really want to play. And so there was a little incident on the court where there was a little bit of back and forth, maybe a push and shove here, but the ref stopped the game, pulled them both in together, made them shake hands, and they kept playing. So that definitely says something about the caliber of officials that you guys are making sure that are out there with these kids. So if somebody wants to be an official in through you guys, what all exactly do they have to do?
Yeah, so they can contact us directly.
Hmm.
We through each of our sports, we use assigners that have groups of refs or groups of umpires. The basketball officials we're a little more hands on with, but the organizations that we use, they have their high school officials. They run our areas, so their officials are ones that are certified or have gone through certification in the past. They care about the sport. They have the knowledge of the sport.
Hmm.
And we use them to assign them. And even though it's a different organization or it's another organization doing it, we still, let them know when we see something that, is not good for our program, or see something that isn't going well, but that's very rare.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have been very lucky and blessed. It is very hard to get officials these days. You don't see a ton of people getting into it. You
Hmm.
just have people that have been in it,
Yeah.
and that is a testament to what they go through. I could never do it. I will
Hmm.
say that. I'll be the first to say it. I mean, I've done it because I've had to as a sports
Oh
director,
yeah.
but I don't think I could handle it these days
Hmm.
with what I witness. But um, we've been lucky in what we're putting out there, and we hold them to a standard, and our signers know that, because our signers hold them to a high standard
Hmm.
for what they're doing. And on the other side of that, our parents know that. We have our parents sign a code of conduct just as our coaches do. So, they understand we don't need them riding our refs and yelling at our refs and doing those things, because it's just going to make those refs not come back, and then we can't have the games.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So,
and there's one video that stands out, and I love it. And I've probably watched it 1,000 times. It was the basketball coach Frank Martin,
mhm.
when he was talking about coaching from the stands and how he is, and you got a distinguished basketball coach here, and in his press conference while he's talking, he was talking about officials and what they go through, and then how his kids are playing basketball and everything else, and he respectfully says, I probably know more basketball than
Yeah.
their coach does, and that's just nature of the beast. But at the same time, he goes, but when my kids came to me, asking about this or complaining about that, he goes, dude, go talk to your coach. And he says it over and again because you got somebody that's investing their time in there, and with the officials, and because I was an umpire a few times, and 100% a few times, and then I couldn't do it anymore. But here, like when I was an umpire, and I was an umpire for softball, and I was behind the plate. And these girls are it was in the age group. I can't remember specifically, but it was where they were starting to pitch.
Yeah.
And, the strike zone, we got to what, 2 innings into it. And, there was, the girls were walking right with the strike zone that I had in place because I was just going knees to chest, and they were having some issues there. So I brought both coaches in for like the start of the third inning. And I said, look, we can do two things here. We can either have girls walk all day, and it's going to be the most boring game we've ever witnessed, or I'm going to open up the strike zone and let the girls start swinging. And so both coaches were on board. That was fine. And sure enough, I started calling the first strike that went just a little bit over the chest area and stuff. But the girls started swinging, but the chirping that I heard behind me, and I'm just like, dude, like this is nobody cares. And I promise. And then, the accusations that, oh, this ref, wants this team to win. I couldn't name one kid on either team. I barely knew the coaches, so the officials don't care. They don't have any side bets on the side. Vegas isn't keeping track of North Myrtle Beach sports, or anything like that. So I think as us as parents, we have to remember what an important role that we have when it comes into it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with cheering on your kid, and there's, or get the ball, this and that. I mean, that's fine. But when you start making a scene in the stands, you're embarrassing yourself, you're embarrassing your kid most importantly, but you're also embarrassing the other kids on the team and the coach and everything else. You got to sit back and understand that, this is all about them developing, and this is all about them learning and loving the game. And I can assure you the kid's going to stop loving the game if they know they're going to get embarrassed every time they're in there playing a game. So, you guys having those conducts set in place and everything else, I know that definitely makes sure. I call it the commander's intent. At any organization, you always got to give your intention on what you plan on doing with that season or that business or whatever, and you guys make that very clear, which, in my opinion, makes you guys very, very successful in running the youth sports there. So going into our final portion here, the prosperity aspect of it. In your opinion, what important life lessons do kids learn through youth sports, and how crucial is it to the development of our youth?
So this is have a whole chapter that I teach
Is
on
that right?
say coastal, that and also adult influences on youth sports. But um, people, when you look at sports, I think people look, towards the main things of sportsmanship and teamwork and that those types of lessons that you're learning. But for me, I think sports um, really can bring about revealing character, one, integrity, respect. Those are very important. It for me to see someone that truly respects their opponent in a good way of, it's healthy competition, but I respect you. That's when lessons have really been learned. When you look at how to handle diversity and adversity, that's important. In today's society, we have kids growing up, and that's one of the things when my kids were young, I'm like, I started to feel like I was fearful of my kids growing up and the adversities they're going to face or
Sure.
what's going to be out there. I think putting them in some type of organized activity. Yeah, my outlet is sport, but some type of organized activity where they're around people that do not think and act like them, do not look like them, or come from different households, come from different cultures. That gives them to be a well balanced, member of society and contribute to society. It gives them the tools they need to be able to be a leader, to be able to speak up. Like you're kind of saying with Ava being shy, and then she was, towards the end, she was able to step up a little bit. Like that brings them out of their shell.
Right.
With my daughter, Avery, the confidence that she built from the beginning of the season to the end of the season was huge.
Oh yeah.
She deals with that and confidence and self-esteem, and sport has definitely been her outlet.
Mm,
Whether it's her doing basketball and she's big into volleyball and gymnastics, and that's her thing where she feels herself. You see her smile, you see her, whereas sometimes in other environments you don't see that. And so I feel like those are the things that kids can really gain from it. It takes them away from the other influences that are out there. Um, Juvenile crime, even,
yeah.
we're talking about young kids. The highest time of day when juvenile crime is committed is between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. when the kids get out of school.
Yeah. Right.
And so if we're offering sport and something, they have something to look forward to, knowing that I have this to commit to, I have something to, that if I do something wrong, I'm going to lose it. It teaches them that responsibility, that commitment. It can do so many things that it's not just about that trophy. It's not just about winning and losing. They start to build upon that, and then it's creating a better person, not
Right.
athlete, a better person. They
Yeah.
can contribute to their job, they can contribute to their family, because chances are they're not going on to the next level.
Sure.
It's so slim. So what we want to do is help instill those values at a very young age so it continues.
Hmm.
And I see that even in teaching at Coastal, the difference in just an athlete who has played sport all their life and just a student that may not have, the values that are instilled in them, the discipline that's instilled in them. Growing up as an athlete, it makes you, when you're committed, and you don't
Yeah.
back out. So I think those, man, I know that's a ton of them that I spoke to, but that's just how important something like that is. And doesn't necessarily have to be sport. I mean, they could be committed to, some other thing, their drama club, their musical theater. One of my daughters is in musical theater. It could be any of that, but something where they can see positive role models, positive influences, and then learn those lessons through that.
Yeah.
It's so crucial. It's
Right.
so crucial.
And and I'll add one more to you is the leadership. So, and what I mean by that is through the basketball season, and I'll use Avery as an example. Avery ended up dominating down in the post, right? And so when we started trapping at half court, and I would have Avery and then another player down below, but I could trust Avery towards the end. I said, Avery, I want you to run this post here, okay? So if she had a less experienced player with her, I saw her numerous times, and I'm sure you have too, where she was actually helping the other player out. Hey, stand right here and watch this girl. My trappers, I would have a few of our stronger players being able to set defenses up, and girls take on little leadership roles within the team, which was another just stamp of approval for the season, which I thought was fantastic. But they're getting these positions of leadership, and well, where are they going to see that again when they get older?
I mean, I was having a conversation with Collins, my other daughter,
Hmm.
about her and Isabella, and they were playing around and hugging and doing some stuff on the court. And I said, and Collins isn't the one to really, well, sometimes she does, but to go out and make friends a lot of times.
Sure.
And I said, you and Isabella are having a lot of fun. And she was like, yeah. I was helping her to know where to go and showing her, and I was like, really? She's
Yeah.
like, yeah. And I was like, "Okay, Collins," because she's my younger one. She was one of the younger ones on the team.
Yeah.
And just little things like that, because she turns to Avery for a lot of things naturally as an older sister, but
Sure.
just that little bit of knowing that she felt needed and that she could lead someone else,
Right.
and help them out, that was important to her.
Mhm.
And she, from that first game where she was like, I didn't even get to touch the ball, to she's out there on the ground stealing and fouling, and
Oh
I
yeah.
got a foul, that's okay, you
Mhm.
get some more, I
Yeah.
want to see it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just that confidence. I know that's what sport did for me,
Hmm.
growing up, was a huge thing of feeling okay to step out a little bit, feeling okay to be a leader, feeling okay to voice a little bit, and use my voice for good.
Hmm.
That was important.
Yeah.
And we see that every day during our sports.
Sure, absolutely. And none of those things are learned if the environment's not fun. They're going to shut down, they're going to be hostages in the practice, hostages in the game, and everything else. And the stamp of approval that I also one more, I had like 4 or 5 stamps, but the our last game that we were playing, we were in our halftime, where I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes, and I remember Sahara our point guard came up to me. Normally the girls are just kind of sitting down on the bench drinking water and this and that. And she goes, "Can we get a basketball and go play?" And I'm like, "Sure, you know what, have at it." And all the girls were running around, during halftime. We were supposed to be taking a break, but they wanted to play more basketball. They were shooting and playing and stuff like that. And that right there, I was like, man, that just what we grew in that one season was awesome. And I couldn't be more proud of the girls. Like I said, it was the time of my life. And that doesn't happen if you don't have a well-run machine, an organized machine. If you don't have your standards set in front of you, and it all starts with your position. So I definitely commend you on
Thank you.
everything that you've done for this city. If someone who is listening is interested in uh, signing their kid up and being a part of this awesome program that you guys have put forth, where do they need to go?
Yeah, so everything is on our website. So it's parks.nmb.us under athletics. So we have our tab there for volunteers. So you fill out your background information there. You can click on that tab to do your background check. Registration is on there. So you click on online registration and you click on youth sports or youth leagues, I believe it says. And then you'll see all the sports that are listed there. And you can register online. You create your own account, puts you in our system for all future emails. So if you don't want to sign up right now and you're looking to maybe one of our fall sports, go ahead and go in there and create an account. So when we start sending out information for summer camps or even our fall sports, you'll be in the system to receive those emails. But we do a lot of things through email and through our social media. So North Myrtle Beach Recreation has a Facebook page, as well as North Myrtle Beach Park and Sports Complex has a Facebook page that we utilize. And then we utilize our website. So parks.nmb.us or either nmbpark.com has it also. But encourage you for spring registration. Register today. Those spots are going so quickly. We're constantly, I woke up to, we get an email every time somebody registers, and overnight I had 160 emails
Wow.
when registration opened up to non-residents. So it's going fast. It's great. It's a good problem to have. We'll take it, we'll organize it and figure it out. We'll put them somewhere to play so that we can take some of the kids off the wait list, hopefully.
Yeah, right. Awesome. Well, you guys heard it. All right. If you want to be part of this, one of the most well-run organizations, that's the avenue to go to. Amanda, thank you so much for being on the show and everything else. She is definitely a wealth of knowledge, and I'm gonna have to pull you on this show again so we can keep talking. It seems like we got a lot more we need to cover, but for time's sake, we're gonna get out of here. Guys, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.